race. Here to discuss is campaign strategist John Thomas. John, thanks for coming on this morning. I think Florida is always important in just about every election, right? And it's always tight.
Yeah, it's your classic definition of a swing state, Rob. It will be tight, and that's why Trump is spending time there. He's saying, look, this is an important state. I'm starting today to focus on it. But here's the good news for Trump. That state loves and always has loved Trump's brand of politics. But even he dominated in 2016 in the primaries. He won in the general election. But this time it's even better because not only does he have a track record of delivering for the American people that he didn't have before, but he has all the hometown heroes, the Rubios. He has most statewide elected officials are Republicans. They're going to push for him this time.
Rick Scott, DeSantis, he's got a lot of friends down there that can help him out. Let's look at past elections in Florida. You go back to 2016, just how tight it was against Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump wins by 1.2 percentage points. You go back to 2012, Obama carries it by less than a point. You go back further than that and you start talking about hanging chads and things of that nature and recounts. There is some nervousness, I think, that if Joe Biden is the nominee, that he could rebuild some of that blue wall that Trump decimated in 2016 and get some of those Rust Belt states back. Is that why the president chose to start this off in Florida? Because Orlando, or because I should say Florida, is that important?
Well, the president shouldn't take any state for granted, especially these classic swing states, no matter what the polling is saying or isn't saying. So, look, taking states for granted is a mistake Hillary Clinton would make. Trump's not going to do that. So that's one thing. Second is Florida has been trending Republican in recent years. And in fact, even in the midterms in 2018, a lot of the polls had Republicans losing statewide. It wasn't really until President Trump came to town with his rallies that he was able to move the needle back to the Republican side. So, look, the thing about these polls right now, Rob, is polling is reflective, not predictive. So that means it might tell us where the race is if it were held today, but it's not. Candidates run campaigns. They draw contrasts. I think Trump is in a great position to win these critical states in 2020.
Okay, let's talk enthusiasm here for a second, because we've all seen these polls at this point that have even Bernie Sanders beating the president by a pretty wide margin, which I think shocks a lot of people. Last night, the president pulls out around something like 20,000 people to show up for the campaign relaunch right there along the critical I-4 corridor in Central Florida. You look at Joe Biden's launch for president, and he got about 6,000 people to show up. And the numbers there, that's pretty dramatic. What do you make of numbers like that as far as enthusiasm go?
Well, I think Joe Biden should revamp his campaign slogan to vote for meh instead of vote for me. But no, really, honestly, the crowd sizes do matter, and it matters for a few reasons. It's a reflection of intensity of support. And I think it's going to be problematic for Joe Biden both in his primaries in states like Iowa and others, where it will be very tight. It's about motivating your core base to the polls. But for President Trump, it just shows that, look, if it's a tight state like Florida very well might be at the margins, Rob, it's about being able to turn out your base no matter whether it's hot or rainy
and let's
or whatever
take a look.
The circumstances.
Let's take a look at it. Here's one poll. If 2020 candidates were Trump and Biden, you see Biden's got him by 10 points there. But what people don't understand is that you still got to show up and vote. This is when you take a poll of people. But at the end of the day, you can win with a very low approval rating if all your people show up. If they all come out in November.
Yeah, you're totally right, Rob. And one thing we learned in 2016, I hope we don't forget this lesson, is that voters can have a certain level of cognitive dissonance. And I mean by that is they can vote for somebody even if their approval of that person isn't high. Trump is lucky that Republicans, by and large, love him. But they can both vote for Trump because they believe it's in their economic best interest and vote against a Joe Biden, even if they think Joe's a nice guy.
All right, John, hey, thanks a lot. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.